Mike here is live. So. Floor, Board President Golick, for the February 2023 board meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Ike. For people who are watching us on YouTube, remember you can email and make a public comment at admin@westlakecharter.com. We just ask that you put the item in which you're commenting in the subject line so that we can call it up at the right time. Please keep that to 250 words, and we look forward to hearing from you. With that, Amy, will you please take the roll?
Yes. Hope.
Here.
Sean. Here. Josh.
Here.
Here. Here. Shannon. Here.
Thank you, Amy. Celebrations. Who wants to go first? Sean's going to go first.
I'll go first. I'll use the same one that I used in governance. So I'm going to celebrate technology because I have to do continuing education to maintain my license, and I used to have to go to expensive conferences and spend a lot of time, and now I can do free continuing education online and do it like an hour at a time instead of 8 hours a day for 4 days. So that's a good thing.
Thanks, Sean. Katie?
I'm going to celebrate our cheer club at the high school. They went to the basketball game last week and had pom-poms and everything, and it's just really great to see our students getting involved.
We need pictures, Dr. Ike.
We need pictures of the cheer club. Got it. Send those my way. We'll put them on the screen.
Steve?
I'll just celebrate how busy this campus was this afternoon. It was hopping. There were a couple athletic events going on. There was another parent event going on. We've got this meeting tonight and some activities. So, yeah, just a busy campus, and it's great to see everyone here.
I believe the gym's filled with basketball right now.
Yes, yeah.
Shannon?
I will celebrate in honor of one of our guests today that we were able to award $2.5 billion to basically help deliver existing transit and intercity rail programs. So, very exciting.
Very exciting.
Raleigh?
I am going to celebrate. My younger daughter had her first ever experience on a school bus. It was a really cool experience for her to go somewhere, and I have never seen her so excited about something in a very, very long time. And
Future transit rider.
yes, I mean, she was on there and loved every bit of it. And from the Bay Area, we've been a big BART and BTA family, but here she hasn't, so it was really cool.
I'm going to celebrate the same as I did earlier as well, and celebrate the Finance Committee and the fact that tonight they're bringing forward the certificated comp proposal, and knowing how much work and meetings went into that, and just thank Josh, you, and Sean for all the work you put in on that. John?
I will celebrate all the parent volunteerism and work that goes into all the events here, but specifically tomorrow night is our middle school dance, and already our parents have been prepping for decorations and bringing food. You said you were going to celebrate algebra.
I am.
Okay, good. I'll celebrate this one
Okay,
then.
I'm just laughing at you.
I'm still in your old celebration. It's just very exciting to have not only events happen on campus again, like we've had in past years, but have the volunteerism to support it. So big shout out to the WAVE team and all the parents for that. AW play.
I do need my.
Nice and loud.
I'm not loud enough.
It's loud.
I'm going to celebrate all things basketball. I'm going to steal from John's celebration earlier, which was our girls team our sophomores played senior night, which throws me, but it's amazing because they won their game and they're doing something awesome after that playoffs.
You're killing it.
Things.
Yep.
I'm so killing it.
You're doing great.
I'm a true sports fan, can you tell? And then I also want to celebrate Coach Sterling, who coaches our boys team. And a couple weekends ago, he sent me a picture at like 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. He was with our basketball kids, and instead of practice, he was making them do algebra because a couple of them were letting their grades slide just a little too much for his comfort. And we have a coach who values their contribution as players, but also recognizes that academics are really important. So he was spending his morning teaching them algebra, which was super impressive to me. So,
Love it.
all the things.
Josh?
Oh, we should have gone this way. I want to celebrate the dance tomorrow. Kind of like what you said. It wasn't that long ago we didn't get to do this, so it's really a cool deal. And now
you know, there's a friend of ours whose little brother will be going to the middle school dance with her this year, and so we have a mole.
Thanks, Josh. Just in terms of board comments, I just wanted to thank the board for signing up. Sean, Josh, and Katie, actually right in a row, perfect, for signing up to do the snack bar at the town show next Friday. So I really appreciate that. It was super easy, and that's always nice. Public comments from either in the room or through email.
I see no public comments in the email, but I will continue to check back throughout the meeting.
Perfect, thank you. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and go to reports and start with Amber.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amber. Can I check and see if there's any public comments at the high school? Hey, Mr. Seamus, you there? Oh, you are there. I can see you on the screen. You're like, I'm right here. Hey, Mr. Seamus, are there any persons in the public wanting to make a comment from the high school?
There are no members of the public at the high school to make a comment.
Sorry that was that. Amber Husted, everybody. Yep. Amber Husted. Thank you, Kevin. You can close it down. Thank you, sir. Sorry about that, Amber. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're good.
You're
good. And then I made everything echo because I'm used to the boxes, right? You have to click those dots. Right. Okay, so today we had a great coffee talk, and last week we had a great WAVE meeting. We had a good number of parents at both. Parents are engaged. We're working on starting up some of those events again, getting volunteerism up. We do have a volunteer hour contest going on right now because we know parents they're talking about field lessons and they're doing all these things. We talked about there's people all over campus doing things, and so we're just trying to get those hours logged. So everybody here in the room, that's your signal, or listening, you can log hours too right now. We have a middle school dance tomorrow, which people have been celebrating. There's dozens of parents who have donated, who are volunteering. I think we have over 250 students who are signed up to attend. It's going to be huge, and we have a lot of parents just keep checking in. Do you need more? Do you need money? Do you need people there? It's just been wonderful. So definitely want to celebrate that. And we have a science night that we just scheduled today for March 2nd. And so that's coming up. It's going to be here in the cafeteria. There will also be games going on in the gym that whole time, so it's going to be lively. And we're really excited to have 6th through 10th graders helping with those Science Night stations. And it's just a cool way to bring our campuses together because we haven't had a science night since we've had a high school. So it'll be a fun way to bring some of our high school students here to work with some of our younger students. We also are scheduling movie nights on both campuses. Mrs. Batten and I are still figuring out how it's all going to work because we want to make sure that we have movies appropriate for all ages, and so we're going to split it up. So we are thinking, and Mrs. Batten's here in the room, that we want to invite 8th graders to the high school and have that kind of be a fun movie night over there. So that's coming up. I'll let you know of the date when we schedule those, but we're excited to get some of these things going again. And then I know I told some of you, especially at the last development meeting, that International Festival was April 1st. We learned that that's during Ramadan, which is not something that we want to do. So we rescheduled it for April 29th. So just want everybody to know that that's when the next International Festival is, the 18th annual International Festival. Then we also have Missoula Children's Theater coming back here in March. We are partnering, WAVE is partnering with the school to make sure all the things are taken care of that we need to for that group to come back out. We're really excited about it. We looked today and we haven't had them here since November of 2019. So it's been a few years and we're excited to bring them back. And then my final thing that I'm pretty excited about, I've been working with admin to look at the calendar for next year. We're really trying to focus on looking at staff events, looking at every event we can and making sure that we're not overloading anything in any way. So our staff doesn't feel overloaded, our parents don't feel overloaded, we just want to make sure that the calendar is balanced. So I think it's something cool that we're trying this year that is new, and we're looking forward to getting a lot more events on the calendar for next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amber. Shannon, I know Impact didn't have the chance to meet this last month. Did you have any updates that you wanted to share with the board? No pressure. You don't have to. Perfect. Josh, in development.
Yeah, so development met, and then we meet again on Monday. working on kind of getting our communications set up. That's something we're going to look at on Monday, monthly communications. We're going to start working on a 8 to 12 week program in regards to Big Day of Giving, kind of lining that all out, because we can't be on the website as a school. However, that doesn't mean we can't use their ideas and try to implement stuff they've done that already works. So, and then just as a follow-up, it sounds like through Giving Tuesday, development committee's got about $1,500 through that, which is amazing considering school was closed. And I think I relied on both you and Steve
Sure.
to help coordinate how to get the money in. Ashley, who's on our committee, is a teacher, so she was also on vacation. And Raleigh, who is not a teacher, was literally on vacation somewhere else, and we still managed to, on the seat of our pants, figure out how to get it done. So, a cool opportunity to look at another opportunity next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that we're doing well. Things are good.
Thanks, Josh. Sean and finance.
Well, as you said in your celebration, the vast majority of what we did, I mean, what we've been doing, but the culmination of it is the certificated comp, which is on the agenda for this board this evening. And we also got an update from Steve, as per usual, governor budget stuff, but that the majority is the comp piece.
Thanks, Sean. Governance did meet tonight. We discussed the school safety plan, which we're hoping to have the safety committee come together later this month to approve it so it can come back to the board in March. We're looking at our medication policy again. I know the board just approved that in December, but we have an additional requirement regarding seizure medications that now need to also be added in terms of administration on school campuses. So we're going to be looking at that and what's the best way to make sure that's a clear and concise, applicable policy that we can have moving forward. And then we discuss potential development. Can we invite the whole board if they want to give
Yeah,
a large update?
because it's a webinar, yeah.
So CCSA is hosting a webinar on February 27th at noon with a ledge update and what's currently known in terms of the governor's budget proposal. It's on, if you need the date, it's also on tonight's governance agenda. But just let John or Steve know if you're interested in attending and they can help you sign up.
You said the 27th?
At noon.
And with that, that's what governance did. So I'm going to kick it over to you, Dr. Ike.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. It's kind of an exciting night tonight. I think I'll probably, I don't know, start off with some celebrations, then do some strategic actions and updates, just like I've been doing every month for like a decade. But I love it every time. It's good stuff. We got great stuff to talk about tonight. Did we do this slide last time we were here? No, I must have done a coffee talk. So, field lessons are back. It is on. There is a bus out front. It feels like every day of the week. I mean, sometimes I come to school, I don't think nobody's here. Everybody's on a field lesson. It wasn't just a year ago that we were like, bringing field lessons back. Well, now it's back. We are home of the explorers, and our kids are out there exploring. Look at this face right here at the touch-a table. Like, oh, look at this. So these are the third graders at the Nimbus Fish Hatchery. They had a great excursion this time because not always do you see the salmon jumping up the ladder, but they actually got a chance to see that. So really great opportunity for our kids. And these third graders, if I'm not mistaken, had not been on a field lesson? They went to Maidu? Okay, yeah, right. It's just, if you look at like the second graders, for sure, throughout COVID, they didn't get to travel. So it's just great to get the kids back out there. This is a phenomenal slide right here. Our girls varsity basketball team, as you heard A-Dub so eloquently explained, went out and beat John Adams Academy on their senior night. And because of that win, they are tied for first place in the Impact League. Now the league is trying to determine, do we advance the girls straight to playoffs, or do they have to do a play-in tournament between the two teams to get into playoffs? Regardless, they are freshmen and sophomores, right? And they're amazing. Half of them were tour guides on the parent perspective tours. Amazing human beings, great athletes and students. But they got a chance to go out because they're phenomenal coach. Coach T organized a trip not only to go out and watch a Sac State game, but get an opportunity to talk with and collaborate and jam with the Sac State women's basketball team. What a cool connection that was for our students. This is a great piece for us. Very proud of that. The Great Kindness Challenge wrapped up last week. We should never stop being kind, but one week of the year we should be really kind, and we did that. We had a Great Kindness Challenge last week, and it ended on Friday, which was a Spirit Day, which was Rainbow Day. So the kids were dressed up as rainbows, and it's great kindness, chalk everywhere. It was a lively day at Westlake Charter School. We have congratulations to our spelling bee winner. We had a jam-packed spelling bee this last month with 35 participants live in person. I remember last year they did it on the computers. This year they got to stand up on that microphone and spell. Some of the people were so nervous they couldn't spell their own name. It was great. It was great. Prospective parent tours. Over 200 community members came out to tour the kindergarten through 8th grade and the 9th through 12th grade facilities. And the real celebration is that at the high school, it was our students that acted as tour guides, and they crushed it. I mean, they were really so impressive. So what a great opportunity that was for our community to step back onto our campuses, both during school hours and in after school. We had an evening event that was jam-packed. Our middle school intramural volleyball, I love to tell this story because people say, well, gosh, in middle school, some schools have a volleyball team that travel around and play different schools. And we've decided to have intramural sports. Why? Well, if you're at one of those schools that has a volleyball team that travels around, you might be able to have 16 kids play volleyball, which is great for those 16 kids. We have 69 kids. I think we now have 70. 70 kids playing volleyball in our intramural volleyball program in our middle school after school program, and practices have started, and it's great. But this place is bubbling. After school, bell rings, kids go this way, kids go that way, kids go into the gym. They're playing volleyball. They leave playing volleyball. Here comes high school basketball. I mean, it is constantly moving and grooving here. We're really having fun. I'm going to take you through some strategic actions that just kind of resonate around goal area 1, objective 1, which we always just call recruit and retain. You can see the objective down there. Westlake Charter School will use creative methods to recruit, retain, and continuously develop the highest quality board members, committee members, faculty, and staff. I'm going to talk about our 11th grade interviews in the marketing campaign and a really interesting piece around a staff survey that we recently did. I'm going to start with the 11th grade piece because we don't have any 11th grade kids yet, but it won't be long. This fall, we will expand to 11th grade, so we have to hire all of our 11th grade teachers, right? Your 11th grade English, your next level of science, which is chemistry. You just have 5 full-time teachers to hire. We're looking for a STEM elective teacher because due to our students' feedback, that is the pathway of electives that they're looking for. So we're looking for a potential like coding and robotics STEM teacher to join that 11th grade team. It's a really exciting time. So really, per this goal, we're supposed to recruit and retain and continue to develop the highest quality faculty and staff. I would put our faculty and staff against anybody in the nation. Like, bring it on, toe-to-toe. Our teaching staff are phenomenal. Well, you got to get the word out because right now there is a staffing shortage out there. So if you just open up the position on EdJoin or in the old classified news, like, oh, what job's open? That's not enough. So we are really pouring into outreach. We built a unique website landing page that's at this link down here, join our team. If you go there, you'll see what jobs are open, but you'll also see like, here's our blueprint. Here's our YouTube channel. Here's how we talk about education. Here's some of the books we read. We think that having a marketing piece like this, a landing page like this, will find like-minded educators, people who go, oh, I've read that book. I've read that book too. Let me click on this video. Why is Emily Batten on the roof shouting about this place looks great, right? We want to draw in the right kind of candidates, and so building this landing page, I encourage you to visit. You also see a lot of this marketing copy over here. We've launched a very strategic marketing plan that targets educators who are looking for work, and it might even target people not looking for work. You might see it a lot. It targets not only locally, in the Sacramento region, but we know that there are transplants from the Bay Area always looking for more affordable housing, and so we're doing some real targeting. We're even doing some outside of those 2 regions to make sure that we have a wide net cast. I know it's only 5 positions, but you want the 5 best educators in America to come strolling through our door. In fact, if I know that it's already working because if you look at the candidate pool for even just the chemistry position, there's some highly competitive candidates in there. And I just know from our experience in education that is often a hard position to fill because it's a very unique credential, the chemistry credential. We're excited about the process. We've already launched interviews. We're involved in interviews now. We expect to be fully staffed in the 11th grade in the coming months, and we'll report back. Any questions on that? Cool.
Is there anything you need from us to help spread the word, or you guys?
You can like and reshare on the Facebooks and the Twitters and the Insta whatnots. Yeah. If you see it, give it a reshare because you never know who goes, oh, goodness, Josh reshared this. Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Josh. It's an interesting survey that we've recently done, and I'm going to tell you why we've done it. If the goal is to recruit and retain the highest quality staff, I would argue we have the highest quality staff. I look around this place, I'll put these team members against anybody. So we are doing some survey work with our staff right now, in part because the board asked, hey, what do your staff think about the calendar? So I wanted to survey staff about the calendar. They thought, we're in the recruitment and retention season. So I asked two key questions that I'm going to talk to you about tonight. The first one was, hey, if you were recruiting a friend to come out and work at Westlake Charter School, what's your sales points? What's cool about this school where you would say to your friend, hey, come work here? The top 6 responses are over here. The code book for these responses is over here. We went through and individually coded each of the responses. They're all narrative responses, and we utilized these codes to then just do some quantitative analysis to see which were the most popular ones. Of course, I built this slide because admin's mentioned as the number one reason, and Emily Batten is that admin. So that's why. Admin is coded as supportive, responsive, and listens. So every time somebody said, the admin really listens to us here. Hey, the admin really gets us involved here. The admin really supports us here. Anytime that was coded, we put it in. It was the number one reason that people said that they would tell a friend to come work here. Culture was the number 2. And we coded that as the way people treat one another as a larger group. That there's this culture here that we as a large group of people tend to jam together. There's also codes about the small group around teaming and my collaborative team. But this culture, this pervasive culture that when I walk through the front office, regardless of who I am, the people in that office are kind and friendly and collegial and supportive. The next piece is staff. And it's coded as high quality staff. There's a lot of recognition from staff who said, hey, my peers are the best in the business. I get so much from being around other high quality people. I've learned from my partners. I have partners who pour into me. This prep time piece is really interesting because it has an inverse effect on the other side, because when we get to hey, what are reasons that you would maybe consider working somewhere else? People go, it's kind of a long day here. We have kind of a long day. Well, you have prep built into the day, specialties, and you end up with a longer day. But people appreciate prep, and it is time to work during the day. That's important to put in our mind because work during the day, again, is inverse to one of the things we're going to see later, which is when I get in these late afternoon meetings, these evening meetings, or this extra work that goes beyond the day, it can be a little draining in this industry because that's typically seen as unpaid time. So having prep to work during the day is a benefit, and not every school has that. Collaboration, we coded as equality regarding the way we work together. That is really an interesting one. People who worked other places before they worked here recognize that you're never stuck in isolation here. And we know from the literature around teacher burnout that one of the number one factors for teacher burnout is isolation. So here you are running a school that has these value adds around some really hard things. You can't go buy any of this off a shelf. But it is here, and it is working, and it is really helping to retain our people. And the last one is breaks. It's really this October break, you guys. Everybody's oh my God, we love October break. But the fact that our breaks are evenly spaced out comes up in the survey over and over and over. I love that you never get to this long stretch, which, as you see in the calendar proposal tonight, that comes up for sure. So if you were recruiting a friend to come to Westlake Charter School, what would you tell them? And if you were thinking about, and you would, we all do. Everyone looks, right? If you were looking around, gosh, would I want to leave here? What would be a motivating factor for you? What would you consider? And this is fascinating. The number one thing is compensation. It's comp. We code this as salary compared to other schools. The narratives didn't typically say like, I get paid too little. They say, I don't make as much as somewhere else. Over and over, the narrative is all comparative. In fact, it's the number one ranked thing on this list, but it's the number one ranked thing on both lists. So comp had the highest number of rankings and is mostly comparative. I think that was interesting. It's a long day. Instructional time. If you come to work here, you start early in the morning with morning lineup and you go through 3:15 in the afternoon, but you get that prep and 2 recesses, right? And we don't have you do recess work, but it's late. Some of your colleagues are getting out earlier. Meetings. I have prep time, but when meetings happen during my collaboration time, during my prep time, or even the staff meetings that go into the evening, those are draining. Proximity from home. How far do you travel to get here? We have some staff members live in Auburn. I'm like, yeah, wow. Every day you're driving here? Right, I love it. I live like 11 minutes away. And it's only because of 7 stoplights that makes it 11 minutes. Right, so proximity. Time outside of the day is a big one. I'm going to tell you a little more about that. But again, in the literature around teacher burnout, this is really important. In the modern context, the modern workforce, this piece is a big deal for us to be aware of, and I'll tell you some of the work we're doing around it. But in reality, this teacher martyrism that's been expected for 100 years in EduWell, you'll just grade your papers at home at night. Hey, I think as a modern industry, we're starting to say, is that what's expected? Because I only paid for this many of hours. So committee meetings, staff meetings, after school, could they somehow be embedded in other ways? And then opportunities. This is an interesting one because in the data, it codes out as like, well, if I went to a bigger district, they're more likely to have promotion opportunities. They got a whole district of vice principal openings, so I might be able to get a vice principal gig. Whereas here at Westlake, these admin never seem to leave. Don't leave. So I just thought this was interesting. I just wanted to bring it to you because I went and surveyed staff initially because the board had asked for data around the calendar. But then I thought, let me throw a couple questions in there about recruitment and retention. And it made me feel equally good. Like, people have good reasons to want to stay. But also, pretty proud of the work we're about to do at the board because some of it speaks directly to some of the concerns. Strategic actions based on staff survey. Well, compensation is on the agenda tonight. So I applaud the Finance Committee for bringing that forward really ahead of schedule because typically we don't do it till later in the season. So I love that you brought it forward because this is the retention season right now. We have optional work days built into the calendar proposal tonight that's on the agenda, and that offers both time, which is a concern, and compensation, which is a concern. So I think that it's forward thinking that have it on the agenda tonight. And also the leadership team is working on a time study. We really launched it back in October, but it's seeking solutions to common time problems. Hey, how do we not interrupt your collab time or your prep time so much with meetings? So we're coming up with a structure for that. How do we look at the annual calendar, the activities calendar, and make sure that Red Ribbon Week doesn't fall on Parent-Teacher Conference Week that isn't the same week we launch Olympic Triathlon when we're trying to do report cards and we're like, oh my goodness, this is a lot going on. How do we spread time out? So the leadership team is working on that. It's pretty exciting. So I think we're in a good place on recruitment and retention. The intent to return form goes out every year and says, hey, are you intending to return? And we have a very high rate of return right now, but I just want to put those pieces out there. Any questions on that data? Just me. I'm super excited by it. I love me the nerdy data. Coding it was fun. I have a couple updates I want to share with you tonight. I think you'll be excited by both of them. First one is lottery applications. As you know, on January 31st, the lottery application window closed, which we advertised heavily, made sure everybody under the sun knew when the lottery was opened up December 1st and closed on January 31st. And let's talk about how many applications were submitted. I love this part of the show because I'm so competitive. Total applications at time of the lottery, let's take a look at it. Back in 2017, when we reached 982, and I love telling this story, but remember in 2014, we're doing the all calls, greetings Explorer families. I'm the new executive director. Yes, I sound funny, I know. Do you know any 6th graders who were looking for a school? Because we had openings. We weren't full. And we weren't even 4 classes wide yet. We were still 3 classes wide. Well, now we're 4 classes wide in the middle school. And by 2017, we had really started to cook. We had 982 lottery applications, which then goes to 1,000, which then goes to 1,300, 1,377, 1,482. That's got to be the top, right? You couldn't have more than 1,482. Thank you, Josh. This year we got 1,642 applications. I think that's great. I think people are encouraged by what's happening here and want to be a part of it. I'll do a little analysis for you that I think is really important to us as a board, especially around the Title I applications or the students who qualify for free and reduced lunch or qualify as socioeconomically disadvantaged. You remember 4 years ago, we switched to putting siblings first, because that way if you were a student who qualified as socioeconomically disadvantaged, you might get pulled as a sibling. And then we had our preference for socioeconomically disadvantaged, and we pull 20% of those students as well, so you'd end up with like a double dip. Well, this year we have 59 applicants who qualify in the kindergarten as socioeconomically disadvantaged, and with this being our 4th year of doing this sibling prioritization that was authorized by the authorizing board, we have 22 siblings who qualify as socioeconomically disadvantaged. We'll obviously pull 22 from the general tank in that preference, which means we, for the first time, will break 40% as a minimum in that kindergarten recruitment. So it's really important for us. It's work we've been doing. When I got here in 2014, the number was 12. 12% of our students qualified as socioeconomically disadvantaged. So it's really great work on the part of our board to do that work. So here's just kind of your grade level breakdowns, right? Obviously, kinder is the big show. But look, you got some spikes in 6th grade. Let's take a look at this 9th grade. I think people are starting to hear about this little place called Westlake Charter High School. Because last year we had 76 applicants for those 150 openings. Now, of course, we expect that, many of our 8th graders will go up, and that's how we end up with 150. But if we're looking for 150 freshmen next year, and we know that a lot of our 8th graders are going to come up, we have 169 applicants. That's almost more than the 2 years previous combined. So really good work. She's in the room. I will shout out our principal, Emily Batten, our assistant principal, Lila McIver, the entire amazing staff that is running that high school and putting on the show there. But really, I think what's happening here is students are talking. The word is out. I'm doing Facebook marketing. These kids ain't looking at Facebook. They're talking to their friends, and they're starting to find out that, hey, your sports teams are winning, your culture's on point, homecoming was the best in the business. There's a thing happening here. Kids feel supported. Academic achievement is high, as you heard in Emily's report last month. We're on point. So really proud of the work that's being done there, and you can see it in the numbers there. Any questions on lottery? Not a big question night. Okay. It's okay. I've got some update about a piece of dirt. That piece of dirt right there on that picture. February updates for our property acquisition. Obviously tonight we have a big piece on that, but let's talk. We're on track to close escrow. So as you recall, we entered escrow. We're currently in escrow, and we're on track to close escrow. This backbone project has gone out to bid. If you'll recall what the backbone project is, the Kern Schumacher, who owns a lot of the property that's left here in North Natomas, has a project that expands East Commerce, widens it, comes across and cuts through Club Center, and that project's called the North Natomas Backbone. What? Yeah, regional backbone. Somehow it has the word backbone in it, which we thought was hilarious.
I'm singing the song on my head.
Yeah. Backbone connected to the Club Center. Yeah. So, sorry.
I was thinking it.
I know, now you said it. So, in all seriousness, so as we talked about this property acquisition, we were told, hey, this cut through, this road is going to happen. But we had seen the architectural designs. We had not seen it go out to bid. It has now gone out to bid. We're now starting to see a timeline develop. We now believe that in the coming months, we're going to actually see that work coming to fruition. The timing couldn't be better, as we're still in escrow, but seeing that work start to happen with the assurances that it's not something that we're going to have to pay for, that it has gone out to bid from Kern Schumacher and that team right there. So this is probably the most important part for us as we talk about acquiring a piece of property, transferring that property potentially to the Natomas Unified School District so that they'll own it, put it in their facilities master plan, and that way, if a future bond were to come to fruition, they could build on that piece of property. Natomas Unified School District won't acquire a piece of property that is not CDE site approved, California Department of Education site approved. The site approval process includes environmentals and the entire process. We are on schedule for CD site approval. We're actually a tiny little bit ahead of schedule. It's going very well. And you'll hear tonight our consultants speak to this, but it really puts us in a great place in this timeline. And then part of that is tonight's public hearing, which will have our consultants from King Consultant and Playwork come out and explain to us where we are in the process and what how clean the environmentals look on the property. And then at next month's board meeting, we'll hold our Title Title 5, Title 4 anticipated. I don't know why I thought it was Title 5. Title 4 anticipated action at that meeting. Once that meeting is held, we'll be able to submit all the final requirements to the CDE for site approval, and then they'll just complete their process as we come out of escrow. So it's really kind of exciting moment. And we are currently in a really interesting facility use agreement collaboration with Natomas Unified School District. I say really interesting. I'll try not to go on too long, but so Steve and I get to this part where we're talking with our authorizer about potential ways to leverage this property into the FMP to see how it will build. And we're kicking around ideas and we're like, hey, is this possible? And we're talking with the authorizer, Angela Herrera, who's the charter liaison. She goes, well, what about this? I'm like, hey, I think this is possible. She goes, well, hey, see if you can find some documents on that and ship them over to me. I'm like, absolutely. Steve, this is so familiar. We go to our Google Doc that we started in 2018, and we go down to page 64, and we're like, there's a little blue link, we're like, and the exact thing that we just described, we'd started working on back in 2019, because right before the pandemic, we were right where we are today, which is so funny to arrive at a place that you already were. So very excited about this work, and we'll work through tonight's public hearing and find out where we get to next. So that completes my report. Any questions on the acquisition? No? All right, cool. I'm like, we are right on time.
That never happens.
It never happens. As we 7:10, we go to consent. 7:15, we get to eat cookies. This is going to be awesome. All right, back to you, Hope.
Before we take consent, well, just turn my mic. Before we take consent, John, can you just double check to see if we've received any public comments?
Absolutely.
While John does that, do we have any questions on the 3 items that are on consent this evening?
I don't see any public comments, but I would like to recognize that every time someone enters a parent volunteer hour in the volunteer form, we get an auto email to admin at Westlake Charter, and the email's blowing up. Mrs. Husted, just wanted you to know. Really? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, it's blowing up. You're welcome. There we go. But there are no public comments.
Perfect.
Sorry, Hope.
So with that, is there a motion to approve items A through C?
I will move items A through C on the consent agenda.
Second.
That's handy when you can just share the same mic
There
that
you go.
way.
There you go.
He's like, well, it's on, so I'll just go ahead.
Hope,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Katie.
Yes.
Oh, Nerali,
Yes.
Shannon.
Yes.
Yep.
Very good.
With that, we'll break for our time to celebrate our community. Is the board playing the game too?
Yeah, well, so here's what I would like everyone to do. As we go out to a 15-minute celebration with our community who's here tonight. We obviously have the onboarding cohort here tonight, and I'd like you to take an opportunity to mingle with our onboarding cohort. I've given them a bingo card where they can ask questions of you. If they don't feel like doing that, they can just talk to you, and that's fine. Everyone have a cookie, a cup of coffee. The onboarding cohort has been through a couple sessions now, so they've watched governance, they've watched development, they've watched now part of the board meeting. They've become familiar with what is a policy, what is a goal, what is our charter, what is a strategic plan. These are potential future board members. They would just like an opportunity to speak to us about the work that we do. For those of you on the YouTubes, we are all going to turn off our cameras and make sure you are muted, and then I will turn off mine, and we'll leave this screen up there here that says, if you're watching on YouTube, we'll be back shortly, which I love. Okay, we may now go to recess. It feels like recess, doesn't it? Recess. All right, let's get some cookies.
right?
Yeah, let's.
So these are people you want here.
Yes.
All right, Hope, I got people jumping in the screen.
Admit. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't know they were jumping in.
It's
so I
good.
wasn't looking for
It's
them.
good. I'm very excited.
Sorry, we're negotiating the comp vote.
Hi, Mike. Hi, team. Give us just a moment. We're just coming out of a recess where we had a reception. We'll be with you in just a moment. Okay, it looks like we are all back. I want to do a quick sound check, though, because I want to make sure that while we're streaming through YouTube and we've got some new faces on the screen here. Hey, Mike Watson, would you mind unmuting and just giving us a hello? It's right down in
Sure thing.
There we go. Loud and clear. And you hear us okay, Mike?
Sounds great.
All right, great. So for our visitors who are on the YouTubes or on the Google Meets, if you guys stay muted while you're not talking, unmute when you are talking, you'll be well heard in the room and also on YouTube. We have a small group here, but we are mighty and excited that you're here. Board President Golick, are you ready to kind of take us to the next space?
Sure, we're going to call our next item, which is on the regular agenda. It's our public hearing on the preliminary environmental assessment for a proposed Westlake Charter High School located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Mabry Drive and Club Center Drive in Sacramento. Dr. Ike, my plan would be to go ahead and let staff present the information as necessary, open the public hearing, take public comments, then close it, and then open it for board discussion, if that works for you.
That sounds good. Yeah, included in staff's report is going to be our consulting team who's going to be presenting to the board. So we're super excited to have them here tonight and to have all of you here. So let me bring some slides up here, and we'll get the show started. Oops, there we go. Here we go. Okay, so let's discuss our public hearing. Obviously, we have some amazing guests here today from King Consulting and PlaceWorks and Young Mini and Core. Maybe we should introduce ourselves. Jen Gibb, would you introduce yourself to the board?
Yes, thank you so much. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Thank you, board president, trustees, everybody, staff, community. Pleasure to be here. Our project team has been working over the past year on this project supporting Westlake Charter, and this is one of the steps that is kind of we're almost to the end. It's been a great process, and we're getting closer every day. So my role is I'm a support to King Consulting, and with Van Pelt Construction Services. We are a program and construction management firm, and we work with school districts all over the state of California, helping them get CDE site approval. And so what's before you tonight is one of the steps to finalize that. With us, we have Michael Watson, who is with PlaceWorks, and he will be presenting a presentation for you tonight. But also, I believe in the room, you have one of our staff members from King Consulting. Nicolene, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Jen. Thank you all for having me here tonight. My name is Nicolene Shalita, and I am with King Consulting. I'm working closely with Jen Gibb and Steve and John here to get your guys' site approval all taken care of. So thank you for having me.
So excited you're here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Nicolene. Mike, do you want to go ahead and run us through the presentation that you have for the board?
Jen, before
Sure thing.
Mike jumps in, Sarah Coleman, would you just say hi so we know you're in the room?
Yeah, of course. Good evening, everyone. This is Sarah Coleman from Young Mini and Core. Our office represents Westlake Charter School, and it is a pleasure to be here. I've been working with John and Steve as well through this process of purchasing this property.
Thank you so much. All right, sorry, Mike, back to you, sir.
Sure thing. Just start with introduction. My name is Mike Watson from PlaceWorks. I'm a senior geologist, and I've been working on various DTSC projects for school sites for about 20 years now. And I'm just very excited to work on this one for you guys. So if we could pull up the PowerPoint.
I have the slides in public view right now. We are on slide 1, if that's okay for you.
Excellent. Yes. So this is the public hearing for the PEA equivalent for the proposed Westlake Charter High School, and the public is welcome to make any comments about this once the presentation is through. I highly welcome anyone to make any comments they like, and we'll go to the next slide. So a little background. So Westlake Charter School is looking into purchasing an approximately 8-acre site located at the northwest corner of Mabry Drive and the future extension of Club Center Drive to build the proposed high school. The proposed project involved construction of a future 9th to 12th grade comprehensive high school with a long-term capacity of up to 500 students. This high school is not planned to be built in the immediate future, but the charter school didn't want to lose the opportunity to purchase the land since there's a lot of expansion going on, and we don't want to lose out on this opportunity to have a high school so close to our other facilities. So in order to obtain matching state funds, the charter school is required to work with the DTSC, which is the Department of Toxic Substances Control. They're a branch of the Cal EPA, and they have a school environmental evaluation program to determine if any proposed school site is appropriate environmentally for school use. So Westlake Charter School obtained PlaceWorks to help assist navigate this process, and we implemented a PEA to investigate the site conditions. Go to the next slide.
Yes, sir.
So in order to determine exactly what we're dealing with here, we need to look at the site history, and based on that site history, we assembled historical area photographs, topographic maps, we perused various environmental database searches, and came up with the history of the site, which was that it was irrigated agriculture from at least 1937 through about 1998, and since about at least 2006, the site has been vacant land. And because of the historical agriculture use, the DTSC guidelines state that it's highly recommended to investigate for pesticides and arsenic. And a lot of these pesticides are now banned in the United States, but because of the timeline of when this was established, we have to investigate to make sure that if these were actually used on the site, and we do that by collecting soil samples. So we go to the next slide. So our sampling program, using the DTSC's guidance, we came up with a grid of 16 soil sample locations that are placed over the 8-acre site. And we collected samples and analyzed them for organic chlorine pesticides. Those are things like DDT, DDE, chloridane, pretty nasty things. And then also for total lead and arsenic. So we can go to the next slide. And so we sent those samples to the laboratory, and we got the results back, and it showed that there were no organic chlorine pesticides detected above any established reporting limits throughout the site. So we had no pesticides detected. We had low levels of lead, which was between 6 milligrams per kilogram. That's equivalent to parts per million, and to a maximum of 8.4 milligrams per kilogram. The DTSC established a screen level for lead of 80 milligrams per kilogram. So we're really, really low on the lead. And then for arsenic, so we had detections between 4.5 milligrams per kilogram to 6.2 milligrams per kilogram. And for arsenic, the way we screen out whether it's a problem or not is we compare it to a background location. And we selected the North Lake school site, which is about a half-mile west of our site, and it's within the Twin Rivers USD boundaries. And they had done their PEA not too long ago, and they got DTSC approval for it. And it's also within the same geologic unit, so we determined that was an appropriate background location, and we compared the concentrations of our site to that site, which was already approved by DTSC, and we determined that we were within and actually below the background levels. So, so all the analysis showed that this is basically the site passed with flying colors. So, so based on the objectives of our investigation and the environmental quality goals of the charter school, the results of the PEA showed that no further assessment is required for the site, and we recommend that the PEA be finalized. So, so right now we're in the process of the public review, and pending any comments that we receive, we plan on requesting no further action from DTSC. So that's basically just a quick wrap up of our investigation and what we found. And the public is welcome to make any comments, and I look forward to hearing from the public.
So with that, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Dr. Ike, will you please check our email to see if we received anything from those watching over YouTube? At the same time, I'll ask the room if anyone in the room wishes to make any public comment during the public hearing. Seeing no commenters.
And I'm seeing them. Let's do a quick refresh here. Sometimes a little delay on YouTube, but I see no public comment in the email inbox.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and ask for any board comments. Also seeing none, I would then just ask if there was any specific action we needed to take this evening.
I saw you reaching for a microphone. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah. We would just look for approval of the item. And in advance of that, I'd just like to say thank you again to Nicolene, who's here, Jen Gibbs, Sarah, and Mike. If you could take a look at Mike's report, it's just fascinating. If you are kind of a history or and data wonk, you can totally see like when I-5 magically appeared out of nowhere from the aerial photographs. So just really, really solid work by the team. So I just appreciate everything.
So with that, I would ask the board if there's a motion to approve the PEA.
I will move approval of the PEA.
Go for it.
Second.
Amy, will you please call the vote?
Yes. Hope?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Nirali?
Yes.
And Shannon?
Yes.
Perfect. I too would like to thank all our guests for coming this evening. And we look forward to our next steps coming in March.
Yeah, and I would just like to jump in on that bandwagon right there. Jennifer Gibbs, Sarah Coleman, Mike Watson, and Nicolene, who's here. Honestly, your expertise in this area has been fascinating to learn from, and your collegiality and willingness to collaborate with us, who are really just kind of, stumbling our way through it. We really appreciate you, so thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great work, everybody. Okay, I will bring up the agenda.
Our next item on tonight is accept and approve the 23-24 academic calendar.
There we go. Okay. Okay. Sorry about the delay, just getting everything set up here. Okay. Academic calendar, we are on for action on academic calendar. I do have a slide presentation on this, that's right. How However, it's mostly a recap of what we talked about last month. However, since YouTube was not working last month, it is nice to have a quick little recap. So last month, there were some considerations that we discussed regarding the academic calendar, and I recognize that we are a month or two behind where we typically are. We love to approve the calendar in December, but we're a little behind, partly because we've expanded to high school, and there's been some change associated with that. Big things to consider was where to place spring break, and the board directed me to really ask staff, would you prefer to have spring break saddle along Easter, or would you like to have spring break splitting the two equal parts of runs between February break and spring break, and that run between spring break and summer break? Also, we asked staff about the optional work days, surveyed staff, and tried to determine how much interest there was in the work days. Do we need one? Do we need two? Do we need three? You can see in the proposal tonight that we asked for two. Also, what would be the impact of those two? Would we have to start school on a Tuesday, end school on a Thursday? Would you lose that December 22nd travel day that butts up against winter break? All of those were kind of on the table. We surveyed staff. Are you interested in the optional work days? Do you like the optional work days? And if we're going to have the optional work days, what are you most willing to give up? Would you be willing to end school on a Thursday, start school on a Tuesday, or lose that December 22nd? December 22nd was off the table, by the way. People were very much against that, but as you can see by the calendar, we took feedback from staff proposing two optional work days, and we will end school on a Thursday, which will give our final staff work day to be a Friday. We've done the analysis, and we meet instructional minutes, even if we were to have the last day of school be a minimum day. So even if that last Thursday, which is Thursdays are typically not minimum days, if we did decide to end on a minimum day, we still meet instructional minutes at all levels, kindergarten through 11th grade next year. So with that, I would ask if there's any questions, thoughts, or concerns regarding the calendar proposal, or any conversations you'd like to have.
Which days are the two optional work days?
Yes, there's an optional work day after winter break. There's an optional work day after spring break.
Okay.
Yep. So both of those can be utilized by staff, and they would receive a full day's pay, not an hourly rate, but their daily rate. So if I'm a $300 a day employee, I could get $600 by working these optional work days next year. However, if I don't work them, I don't lose anything from my salary, nor do I use any sick leave on those.
John, hearing no board questions, will you just again see if there's any public comment on the calendar?
Absolutely. And I see no public comments. Let me refresh one more time. Nope. Seeing none.
With that, is there a motion to approve the calendar?
I move.
Okay, Shannon won the race,
I'll second.
and Nerali gets the second.
You gotta push the button.
Well, they get the finance one, so
That's right.
not saying it's going to go any certain way, but we'll give it to the finance team.
Hope?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Josh? Katie? Nerali? Shannon?
Okay. With that brings us to accept and approve the 23-24 certificated compensation proposal. Because we do have a staff board member, this member has a potential conflict and has been asked to excuse herself from participation in this portion of the meeting. So if people see Miss Davis disappear, she's just doing her duty under the Conflict of Interest Code, and we really appreciate her. With that, John, do you have a presentation on this?
We do. We have a short presentation. I would like to just first by acknowledging and thanking the Finance Committee for your hard work. I mean, I know that you start every year off by analyzing analyzing the comparisons, comp matrices. But typically we do this work deeper into the year. And you guys made a real commitment to at least bringing this proposal forward earlier in the year, which is very helpful for recruitment, because as we go into the interview season that we talked about earlier, now we'll have potentially an updated compensation that we could be talking about in the interview process. But I think it's also really appropriate for the consideration of retention as well. If we're going to go out and look for a job because it's closer to home, or I have the perception that that new job pays more money, this is the beginning of that season, so I really appreciate the work. So great job, team. Let's take a look. That's first line is covered by what I just said. Thank you to the Finance Committee. I thought I was just riffing. Turned out I wrote it down. Okay. Just a review for the committee work year to date in the fall, right? We reviewed the matrices, the schedules, years of service, and the one-time bonuses and benefits. These are the things we looked at, right? What are our compensation schedules? How many years of service do we offer when an employee comes into our organization? Were one-time bonuses appropriate for this round of compensation conversations? And we actually analyzed benefits, I think, more deeply this year even than in previous years. So great work, team, on that. In the winter, we continued to look at the models and continually sought revisions on those, and then looked at multi-year projections. If this type of compensation was being offered, what would the impact be on the multi-year budgeting process looking and going forward, especially as we are continuing to grow out to 12th grade. We came up with an interim recommendation, and the recommendation that's up this evening has been detailed in our packet. So really a nice process from the Finance Committee, and I think we landed in a space that, sorry, there's a mosquito flying around. I'm like, a space that I think is really nice. What you see in the packet tonight, the proposal that's on the table, includes certificated salary schedule increase, which I think we're very proud of, a one-time bonus to add to that ongoing compensation or schedule increase, as well as an increase in years of service. Kind of want to walk through each piece, one piece at a time. On the certificated salary piece, we really looked at comparing to the matrices. As I told you about in the staff survey, it wasn't such a reflection of what I make, but what I make in comparison to what I could make. That narrative was loud and clear in the staff survey. It was really the work that the finance team does as well. Not what do we pay, but how much do we pay in comparison to those around us who do similar work. We have two matrices, right? We have a geographic matrix of schools that we compare to, but a lot of those schools are bigger districts and they have more dollars, but that's the one we generally compare to make sure that we're around even, and this proposal gets us to even. There's also second matrices of schools that fund like us and look more like us and are staffed like us from a dollar and size standpoint, and we outperform all of those schools on that matrices. But again, it's the geographic matrix that we really consider. However, with inflation, with things that are going on in the market right now, the committee is recommending an 8% increase to certificated salary across the board, which brings us on that geographic comparison right to dead even amongst all 9. And that includes, big districts like Rockland, Elk Grove, Twin Rivers, Natomas Unified, NP3. Those are high-paying organizations. So to note that with this 8% increase, we are now on average in our comparison matrices. Feels really good. We're also recommending an off-schedule one-time bonus. We've never really done a percent bonus. We've always done a one-time similar dollar bonus so that teacher A and teacher B each get the same amount of dollars. I got $1,500, you got $1,500 as a one-time bonus. This is the first time that we decided to go with the percentage, and part of the conversation around that was around this combined number that this would make next year. 8% ongoing, and that'll be from now until forever, this 8% increase. But this 2% one time says that in this 1 year, going from this year to next year, my paycheck would be a 10% increase, and that's a nice, easy, round number to calculate. If I make $70,000 as an educator in this organization, I look at that and go, next year I'm going to make $77,000. It's a really nice round number that I think is going to, demonstrate the value that we place on the work that's being done in the organization. The next piece is the years of service, and something actually the Finance Committee has talked about for several years. It's been on the table a few times. It's funny because when I got here in 2014, accepting 7 years was pretty industry standard. I mean, we adopted this policy, I'm assuming, from NUSD because they were 7 years of accepting. As the teacher crisis, the teacher shortage has really escalated in these last 3 years, we're seeing more and more organizations open this up. We did a comparison of our geographic matrices. Some accept unlimited, all years. And for those, we calculated, okay, well, let's call that 30 years. Some offer or allow 7 years, and we calculated out of the 9 schools and districts on that comparison chart, we came up with in average, which is 15 years. So we are increasing from 7 years of accepted prior service to 15 years. Just to be clear on what that means, if you were a school teacher down the street and you had 10 years of experience and you came here, we would only give you 7 years of experience and put you on step 8. So you would probably take a pay cut to come here. And there are several employees currently here today who did take that pay cut when they came here. There are also people who come to the interview process and go, hey, I've got 12 years of experience, and we say in the interview process, we'd love to hire you, but we can only offer you 7 years of experience. And they recognize they're losing that many years of experience in their pay, which affects their STIRS contributions, which affects their daily and annual rate and their retirement. So by moving to 15 years of service, it helps us on the recruitment of new teachers and the retention of teachers who would also get those years back going forward as of the passage of this proposal. Any questions on any of these three pieces?
I have a question on that last piece for the years of service.
Sure.
Just so I understand, because I was looking at one of our briefs. When you say we're only going to accept it moving forward, will we, let's say there's this teacher, I'm going to make up an example. Teacher A came, had 10 years, they only got 7, and they've been 3 years here teaching.
Yeah.
So does this mean moving forward, as of today, we're going to honor those 3 years that they list? No, it's just going forward.
Let me try to answer the question. So if a teacher came here with 10 years of service, we would have honored 7 of them, and 3 of them would not have been honored. They've worked here now for 3 years. They have 10 years of service as of today, in your example. We're going to take those 3 years that they lost out on, and as of next year's salary, pop them from step 10 over to step 13.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we're not going to retroactively go back over the last 3 years and compensate because that was the past. Going forward, though, all of those people will be caught up to 15 years.
So when we say our total is only 30,000, that's just what we anticipate when we add back those years in totality of all the teachers.
Yeah, so we do the analysis. We've done all the analysis of the current staff, and we recognize that it's a $30,000 ongoing investment for us going forward.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I love the engagement. It's good. Any other questions, thoughts, or concerns?
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the package?
I will move approval of the compensation package.
Second.
Amy, will you please take the vote?
Yes. Hope?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Nurali?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
On behalf of the certificated staff, I just would like to say thank you. I appreciate the hard work from the Finance Committee and appreciate the support of the board. I know this will be well received.
As for future agenda items, we have 2 that will come back in March, second interim, and then the comprehensive school safety plan. Reflection, what worked well, what would be better if?
Sorry, it's my first day. I love it when we have people in the audience. I really enjoyed the 15 minutes to walk around and talk about what we do. We do all the stuff out at the events, and I probably haven't connected with anybody for that amount of time at any of those events as we did just right here. And gosh, if there was a way we could incorporate that, if we had, want to do a meet and greet with the board, quarterly or something, I was able to connect with, the community more than chili cook-off or anything like that. So I really like that aspect of it.
Yeah, big shout out to the 18 community members who signed up to be part of a 4-part, super nerdy governance onboarding cohort. I mean, these people came out, they sat through, lessons led by Hope and myself. Now this is their second session, so yeah, it's great having them in the room and engaged.
Their questions were really pointed in one direction. You could see that they'd all done the homework, been paying attention, had developed questions before we even went into it, and you could see there was a lot of thought behind the conversation.
Yeah, that's good.
Sean?
I also thought that that was a really great opportunity to meet with that cohort, but given that Josh just said that, I will say that the compensation package worked well for me, given that it's the culmination of what we have been working on in finance ongoing since the beginning of the year. It's nice to see it come to fruition, have a good question of clarification, and then a unanimous vote on it. I appreciate that.
Josh stole mine as well, but I think what worked well is hearing from our guests that came and talked about the land, the high school land, and just getting to hear a little bit more about the technicalities and the nerdy data that goes with that.
Yeah. Steve, you want to play?
Well, Katie just stole mine, so we're just stealing everyone's. But I will ditto it just because I really do appreciate them. That they're experts in their field, so having them available for a phone call, for a meeting, and here and present tonight is just really great because this is a big item for the school. So just really appreciative for all their support along the process.
Yeah.
Well, even though Josh did steal mine, I'm going to say it anyway, that I liked having people here and having a chance to connect, but specifically being asked questions about the impact committee and like what we actually do, and that it is the hardest to quantify to people. So having an opportunity to talk about that and hopefully get people interested. And then also hearing feedback from at least one of the people who newly has all of their kids at Westlake, that part of what was appealing about going through this onboarding process is that this feels like the right size of a board and of a community where you can really get involved and like actually understand and just like be more a part of the community. And I was like, yeah, great. It's like the whole point. Love that.
Awesome. So I'm actually, I guess it would be Steve and Dr. Ike who put all the briefs together for everything that we were approving today. I love data and going through all of them and really being able to say, okay, this is why are we getting this money for the music and how are we going to use it? Like, I think just really understanding where all this is really tying towards. I really appreciated that, and I know it takes time to put together all that analysis. The finance thing was very interesting to me as well, along with our academic calendar and really understanding the survey of the staff. I mean, it really brings down to really giving that background, so the discussion here is very just to the point and saves everyone's time. I really appreciate the briefs, so thank you guys for putting that together for us.
I wish I had remembered to check for public comment before we voted on the compensation proposal.
I did when you guys were voting.
Did you? Was there? Can we?
There's no public comment.
Okay, sorry.
But I looked because I knew you were thinking about it.
I was fixated on it. Yeah. So it was nice having presenters. I love listening to the two of you. Don't get me wrong, but we never really ever get to hear from people outside of like this group, and so that was just kind of fun and different. In the same way, I too appreciated the briefs because it meant that we could all come in prepared. So. It's always hard. It's like a catch-22 because then we're really quiet too when we're really prepared. There's not a lot of discussion, and so the sunlight that comes into how we make our decisions isn't as bright, but it's still good. It's just different.
Yeah, I didn't know that was my reflection until you said it. But having the outside presenter was fascinating. Yeah, love the new voice in the room. My reflection of what worked well for me tonight. In full transparency, coming in tonight, there's a lot on the agenda for me and Steve. We worked really hard on a lot of the pieces. So I was like, okay, I want it to go well. And we had the onboarding cohort, and we had it all timed out. Okay, they're going to go to a cookie reception. We got to be back because these people are going to come on the thing. And you know what worked well for me was this board is really buttoned up and procedural and understands the process. So we celebrate and we do roll call, and we do the things the way we do such that we were able to predict what time you're going to take your consent agenda. And when I looked at my phone, I was like, we are on the minute on time. Like, you are very predictable as a group of people. And that worked well for me because we were on a tight window to get these poor people out of that. They've been here for 2.5 hours and to get them out. So I think our predictability, our consistency, our willingness to like stay on schedule, it's good.
Well, the funny part, though, is that we were a little unpredictable in governance because we ended early, and that was awesome, too.
It never happens.
Like, it never happens, and it worked really well for tonight. So that's
good.
another what worked well was sometimes we're not.
That's right. Yeah.
Amy, did you want to?
Oh, AW, you want to play with your reflection?
Yeah, I think my reflection is that a lot of stuff got done tonight.
Yeah.
like the calendar got done, which is a big thing. Compensation got done, that's a big thing. The school thing, like there's a lot of big stuff that happened tonight, and usually there's a couple big things that happen, but there's a lot of big things that happened tonight. So that's really cool. It's hard to think about next year's calendar.
Well, for me, I mean, Sean, you too, we both have people graduating in 24, so it's really interesting to be to that point. And you got someone this year, I know, but it's just interesting to see 24 on a calendar.
I also have a promoter in 24.
Oh, you
and
both.
It'll be super weird because it'll be on a Thursday, and I don't know what to do with that.
It's great for my work schedule, I'm not gonna lie. I'm super excited not to be on the second Wednesday. But with that fun interlude, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 8:07.
Thank you, everyone. Let me stop the YouTubes here. Doop-a-doo.